Alright, today we're going to go over your changing units measure notes. Hopefully probably the first time you ever use something like this. At least with my class it is. And a lot of times we'll start class with this thing called an anticipation guide. You can scribble out this in algebraic expressions, distributive property. I should change that header. But an anticipation guide is something that I do a lot of times just to get some prior knowledge. So the reason I do it is for prior knowledge, to see if you guys know anything. So the only way you can be wrong on any of these anticipation guide questions is if you don't answer it correct, if you don't answer true or false. So don't pick them both. Don't read all of them to be true just because you don't feel like reading. Just actually make an honest attempt. That's the only way the only thing I'm asking. So the first one we're going to read, 10 kilometers is longer than 5 miles. If you think that's true, circle true. If you think it's false, circle false. 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches, 1 yard is equivalent to 3 feet, and 1 mile is equivalent to 1,760 feet. If you think that's true, circle true. If you think it's false, circle false. Number 3, to convert from larger to smaller units, multiply. If you think that's true, circle true. If you think it's false, circle false. To convert from larger to smaller units, divide. If you think that's true, circle true. If you think it's false, circle false. 5. And now guys, if you look at 3 and 4, a lot of times I do 3 and 4 if you have, it's a way for me to see if you're actually reading real quickly. For example, if you put true and true for 3 and 4, I don't think you really made an honest attempt because they're the exact same question, except I just changed the last word from multiply to divide. So it's very unlikely both of them are true or both of them are false. So that's like a self-check I do. Number 5, dimensional analysis can be used for conversions by multiplying by 1. If you think it's true, select true. If you think it's false, select false. 6, 16 fluid ounces weighs, and make sure you add, weighs 1 pound. 16 fluid ounces weighs 1 pound. If you think it's true, circle true. If you think it's false, circle false. And that's it. Once you do that, you're done with the anticipation guide. Sometimes we do it after the lesson. Sometimes it'll be like a fire starter will be this. I'll just copy and paste this chart onto a fire starter, and you'll just do the true and false afterwards, and by then you should know it. You might not know any of the ones we just did 1 through 6. That's okay. Guessing is allowed on the before lesson. Guessing is okay, as long as you read it and made a thought. Alright, if you flip the page, you're going to end up in, you're going to see this, and you're going to see a bunch of charts. These charts are the way for us to deal with changing within the same system, as in you're going to go from metric to metric. And this book calls it customary, standard, whatever you want to call it, what we are used to using in the United States, which is actually, we're like a very small percentage of the world that actually uses those units. Most people use metric, but so we're going to go customary because it's just custom for us. So it's not really standard for the rest of the world, more like metric standard for the rest of the world. So it talks about 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, 1 meter is 100 centimeters, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. So look, there's your length, capacity, mass. 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. Pretty easy when it comes to metric. Customary, 1 foot is 12 inches. 1 yard is 3 feet. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Already you should have some answers from your anticipation guide. Capacity. Capacity is like, measuring cups and stuff like that. So 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. 1 pint is 2 cups. 1 quart is 2 pints. 1 gallon is 4 quarts. I bet you guys have done the big G thing. You put the 4 little Q's and stuff. I bet you've done that before. Alright, and we're going to have to scribble this out because I made a big mistake here. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I changed it, but I guess I didn't. So, this is completely wrong because this is the same thing as metric. That's not customary at all. Customary is, so the first one should say 1 pound, and we're going to write underneath 1 pound And a lot of times it's abbreviated by LB is equal to 16 ounces. Notice that's going to be different than fluid ounces. So 16 ounces is different than fluid ounces, which we'll talk about. So fluid ounces, those are different than those ounces. All right, so weight and capacity are different. Because you could have a very heavy liquid, and you could have 2 fluid ounces, and it could weigh a lot more, or you could have a very light liquid, and it could weigh a little bit less. With water, it's actually really close. A cup of water is really close to a half a pound, but it's not exact. It's off a little bit. The other one is 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. All right. So, sorry about that mistake. Now, if you want to go from larger to smaller, you multiply. If you want to go from smaller to larger, you divide. All right. And I just like to use this thing called dimensional analysis. Really, that's just a fancy way to multiply by 1. If you multiply by 1, make something cancel. You're going to make some measurement cancel. You're going to make some label cancel. And we'll talk more about that. But it's pretty easy. That dimensional analysis can work for everything. You can only use this multiplication and division when you're within systems, when you're going from metric to metric or customary to customary. You can use dimensional analysis anytime you want. Okay. Now it is slightly different when we go between systems. All right. So when you're going between systems, you're always going to use dimensional analysis. Remember, that's multiplying by the ratio. So basically, you're going to use both. If you were going from inches to centimeters, you're going to multiply by the ratio, or you're going to multiply by both of those at the same time, where one's on top of the other. Remember, with dimensional analysis, it's just a fancy way to multiply by 1. For example, 1 inch over 2.5, and a lot of times you see 5.4 centimeters. The top and the bottom are exactly the same, they're equivalent. So really, that's just a fancy way to say 1. So you'll always make some ratio of 1. So the ratio is always going to be of 1. All right. So look through this. 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters. I always like to put 2.54. 1 yard is about 0.9 meters. So they're very, very close. Notice, guys, this double like little, I think, almost like a tilde. This double tilde is it's an approximate. It means approximately. It's not equal. It's very close to equal, but it's like a wavy equal sign. It just means it's close. It's close to an equal sign. That means they're close. 1 centimeter is about 0.4 inches. 1 yard is about 0.9 meters. 1 mile is about 1.6 kilometers. 1 kilometer is about 0.6 miles. 1 quart is about 0.9 liters. Notice quarts and liters are really close. 1 liter is about 1.1 quarts. 1 pint is about 0.5 liters. 1 liter is about 2.1 pints. You can even make that cups if you wanted to. So that would just, if you could actually go from liters to pints, then pints to cups. Customary to metric, 1 ounce is about 28.3 grams. 1 pound is about 0.5 kilograms. Or 1 kilogram is about 2.2 pounds, which you probably heard of that one before. 1 gram is about 0.04 ounces. That might not be one you're as common with. All right, flip the page. We're just going to go over some examples. It's going to be pretty simple. So, state which metric and customary unit you would use to measure the length of a pen. Well, metric-wise, I think a pen, I'm probably going to use centimeters. I think millimeters would be too big. I think meters would be I think millimeters would be too small. I think millimeters would be, I think millimeters would be too small. I think meters would be too big. So I think centimeters is the best. As far as measuring a pen in customary, I wouldn't use feet. I'd probably use inches. So the first one, that is metric, and that's customary. All right. A track, like a high school track. I think that's pretty simple because a lot of us think when we think of track, if you ran it, it's all measured in metric stuff. So you run the 400, the 100. Those are all meters. I think if you were going to do customary, I think you would probably measure in miles. Because I know when I was in cross country or track, when they told me to go run, one lap of the track was a quarter mile. They didn't tell me it was however many feet. All right. Now from Tokyo to Beijing, I think metrically you're going to use kilometers, and I think customary you're going to use miles. But notice the difference, guys. If I tell you to figure it out metric or customary, I bet sometime I might tell you to do one or the other and not both, and you might have to be able to differentiate between the two. All right, first couple we're gonna differentiate between systems. So I look at A, and it says 4.2 kilometers equals how many meters? Well, kilometers is bigger, so I'm going from a larger unit to a smaller unit. If I look here, if I go from larger to smaller, I'm going to multiply. So I like to use dimensional analysis. So here's how I like to do it. But you could just multiply by 1,000. That's an easy way to do it. I kind of look at it this way. All right. If I have 4.2 kilometers, I want the kilometers to go away, so I put them on the bottom. And I'm going to change them real quick. All right. I just want some more space to write. So I'm going to use dimensional analysis. You could just multiply by 1,000. That's an option. All right. But I'm going to use a dimensional analysis. I think it works all the time. So if I have 4.2 kilometers, I'm going to multiply by a fractions. Remember, this is over 1. I want this kilometers to cancel out, so I put kilometers on the bottom because then they would cancel out, and that's what I want to happen. So remember, this, if I'm using dimensional analysis, this part that I'm creating, that has to equal 1. So if I have 1 kilometer on the bottom, I'm going to use my chart, and I see 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters right here. So on the bottom I have 1 kilometer. On the top I'm going to write 1,000 meters. So I end up with 4.2 times 1,000. So I end up with 4,200 meters. And that's it. 13 yards equals how many feet? So I have 13 yards. Well, I'm going to multiply by 1, so I'm going to put yards on the bottom. I'm going to put feet on top, because that's how I want to end up with. See how I want to end up with feet? That's why feet's on top. So I know that there are 3 feet for every 1 yard. The yards cancel. 13 times 3, it's going to give me 39 feet, and that's it. 17 millimeters. Now you could remember that 17 millimeters is smaller compared to meters, so you could divide. Or, like I said, I'm going to put 17 millimeters right here. I know I'm going to multiply, and I want millimeters on the bottom. I want to end up with meters, so I put meters on the top. And then I look at my little chart that compares meters and millimeters. There's 1 meter. And notice I have 1 meter is 100 centimeters, and 1 centimeter is 100 millimeters. So I'm actually going to put them together. So I have 10 millimeters is 1 centimeter. So you notice I wanted the millimeters to cancel. I found out that I'm going to do 17 over 10 centimeters. Now I want the centimeters to go away into meters, so I look at my chart. Centimeters to meters. I'm going to use this one right here. All right. And I want to end up with meters. So I want centimeters on the bottom. And I want meters on the top. I look at my chart. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So I have 1 meter is 100 centimeters. I just throw that in my calculator. I do 17, or you could do 10 times the 100 on the bottom. So either way, you're going to have 17 over 1,000 The centimeters cancel. Or 0.017 meters. 0.017. Alright, so that one was a little bit harder, but it's the idea of always making the top cancel out until you eventually get what you want. Alright. I'm going to clear all this. Alright, let's look at D. I have yards to miles. Alright. So I'm going to look at my chart over here. And I'm looking at yards. I see yards right here. And I see miles here. See how they're not included? Alright. So what I can do is I can turn yards into feet and then feet into miles. So I'm actually going to multiply 2 times using dimensional analysis. So I'm going to take 6,600 yards, and I want the yards to go away. So I'm going to multiply by some yards to feet. Alright. I know that there's 3 feet for every 1 yard. So that cancels out. I end up with 3 times 6,600. Now, if you don't want to do 3 times 6,600, you can do it all in one step where you're just going to multiply again. So look, I have feet on top here, which means I'm going to put feet on the bottom here. And I want to end with miles, so I put miles on top here. And I know I have 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So 6,600 times 3, then I divide it by 5,280. I end up with 3.75 miles. And that's it. Alright, E, we have 3.7 liters. We're going to turn into milliliters. Like I said, I don't ever like to think about what's bigger or smaller, but I know that 3.7 is larger, so I'm going to multiply to get milliliters. So you could just multiply by 1,000 if you want. The easiest way for me to think about it is I'm just going to put 3.7 liters. And I'm going to multiply. I want milliliters to end up with. I want liters on the bottom because then they're going to cancel. And I'm going to look at my chart and it's going to tell me how are milliliters and liters related. Okay, it's 1 liter for 1,000 milliliters. Alright, so that's where we're going to go. So 1,000 milliliters, 1 liter. Look, it is just multiplying by 1,000. So I end up with 3,700 milliliters. Alright. If I have 16 quarts, I want to end up with gallons. So I'm going to multiply by 1 gallon all over 4 quarts. Now, remember, that's just a fancy way to say 1 because those are equal. So I do 16 divided by 4, so 16 quarts is just 4 gallons. 7 pints to fluid ounces. I have 7 pints. I'm going to multiply. Oh, you don't put the S there. I'm going to multiply. I want the pints to go on the bottom. I want fluid ounces on top. Now the problem here is if I look at my conversion, I don't have a conversion that goes right from pints to fluid ounces. I have 1 cup into fluid ounces, so I'm going to turn my pints into cups, and then my cups into fluid ounces. So my pints are going to go into cups. So 1 cup, or 2 cups, is equal to 1 pint. Now I'm going to turn my cups into fluid ounces. So 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. So I'm going to multiply by 2 cups. The C's will cancel. I end up with 7 times 2 is 14 times 8. It is 112 fluid ounces. Alright. 4 gallons equals how many pints? Once again, I don't go right from gallon. There is no, if I look at my chart, I don't have something that goes gallons to pints. Alright. I have gallons to quarts, quarts to pints. So I'm going to use both of these right now. So I'm going to go gallons to quarts, then quarts to pints. And that's going to how I get this. So I'm going to put 4 gallons, because that's what the problem says. I'm going to multiply by 4 quarts all over 1 gallon. Why do I put gallon on the bottom and not on the top? Remember, 4 quarts over 1 gallon is equal to 1 gallon over 4 quarts. But the reason I put the gallon on the bottom is I want them to be able to cancel. Now, I'm going to compare quarts and pints. So I'm going to put pint on top, and put quart on the bottom, all right? And I look at my conversion chart. My conversion chart says 1 quart equals 2 pints. So I say 2 pints for 1 quart. The quarts cancel. I'm left with this pints at the end. So 4 times 4 is 16 times 2. So 4 gallons is going to be 32 pints. And that's it. Kilograms to milligrams. Kilograms, I know I'm going to multiply to go from kilograms to milligrams. I know I'm just going to multiply because kilograms are bigger and milligrams are smaller. But like I said, I always just make it cancel. So I'm going to put 5.47 kilograms. I'm going to multiply by 1,000 milligrams for 1 gram. And then I'm going to multiply again because I don't have a conversion that goes from kilograms to milligrams. So then I'm going to put 1 gram. So let me fix this. Hold on, that's all messed up. Let me redo this one. Alright, so I'm going to change kilograms to grams. So I'm going to have 5.47. I just wanted more space, so sorry about that. 5.47 kilograms. I'm going to put 1 gram, 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. The kilograms will cancel. Now I'm going to want my grams to cancel, so I'm going to put 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram. So look, the kilograms cancel, the grams cancel. What am I left with? Milligrams. That's what's right here. 5.47 times 1,000 is 5,470 times another 1,000 is 5,470,000. So 5,470,000 milligrams. All right. J, I'm going to have to change tons to pounds, then pounds to ounces. So 5 tons is going to be multiplied by 2,000 pounds for 1 ton. Then I'm going to multiply 16 ounces for 1 pound. So look, the tons cancel, the pounds cancel. 5 times 2,000 is 10,000. Times another 16 is 160,000. So 160,000. All right. K, L, M, N, the rest of them, you have to use dimensional analysis. So you could have just kept on dividing or multiplying for all the ones before them. These ones you have to do it the way I did it. That's the one reason I kept on using dimensional analysis, so it's the same throughout. So I have 30 inches. I'm going to multiply by centimeters over inches. This is the ratio, so I'm going to put 2.54 all over 1 inch. 30 times 2.54 is going to be equal to about 75, so it's going to be about 75 centimeters. Kilometers to miles. I have 5 kilometers. I'm going to multiply by 1 mile, and I'm going to look at my chart over here. One mile is about 1.6 kilometers. So now you see the kilometers cancel. I'm left with miles. 5 divided by 1.6 is about, notice I use the wavy equal sign, 3 kilometers. All right. Yards to kilometers. So I'm going to go yards to meters, then meters to kilometers. So I have 200 yards. I'm going to multiply by if you check your little conversion, 1 meter is 1.1 yards, or 1 yard is 0.9 meters. It doesn't matter which one you use. So we use either one of these two. I'll use .200 yards. I'm going to say 0.9 yards or meters is 1 yard. And then I'm going to say 1 yard is 3 feet. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to say the yards are going to cancel. And I'm going to say 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. So I'm going to do 200 times 0.9. Then I'm going to divide it by 1,000. I end up with 1.8 kilometers. All right, so 1.8. All right, I'm going to clear all this, so clean it up a little bit. All right, make this a 7, please. For N, it should be 7 quarts is how many liters? All right, so make that a 7. So I'm going to have 7 quarts. If you check your chart, it says that 1 quart is equal to 0.9 liters, or 1 liter is 1.1 quarts. So I'm going to multiply. I want the quarts to go away. So 1 quart is the same thing as 0.9 liters. So 7 quarts is about 6.3 liters. 2 liters to pints. So 2 liters I'm going to multiply by pints all over liters. And I look and see that I have 1 pint is about 0.5 liters. So you could do 2 divided by 0.5. It's about 4.2 pints. You also could have flipped it, or you could have used the different conversion where you had 1 liter on the bottom and 2.1 pints on the top. Liters to gallons. I have 10 liters. I'm going to multiply. So gallons all over liters. See, I always do the labels first. Now, I look at my little chart and I know that quarts and gallons. But since there is no conversion for liters straight to gallons, I'm going to have to go from liters to quarts, then quarts to gallons. So 10 liters is going to be, I'm going to multiply by quarts over liters. So 1 liter is 1.1 quarts. Then I'm going to multiply 1 gallon all over 4 quarts. So I do 10 times 1.1 divided by 4. I end up with 2.75 gallons. All right. Kilograms to pounds. So I have 58.5 kilograms times 1 pound is 2.2 kilograms. 2.2 pounds is 1 kilogram. So I do 58.5 times 2.2. I end up with 128.7 pounds. About. Remember, it's not exact. 14 ounces to gram. So I'm going ounces to grams. So ounces on the bottom. 28.3 grams per every 1 ounce. I end up with 396.2 grams. Alright, and that's going to finish our worksheet. So changing units of measure. Those are the notes. If you need them again, if you have any questions, come see me. And there's going to be your assignment, page P5 and P7 in that red geometry book. We'll have plenty of time in class to work on it. Alright, that's it. Have a great day.